Hello and welcome to today's session. How are we doing? Happy Monday. Hope you don't have the Monday blues. Today is going to be all about live solving the speaking part 1. Alright, so we have done live solving of the entire speaking test a few times now. And the thing is, when we do the entire test, since we have to focus on all 3 parts, we're generally not able to go into a lot of detail and see a lot of different questions for part 1, part 2 and part 3 separately. So what we're doing this week is we're going to focus individually on part 1, then part 2 and part 3 so that we can look at a variety of questions and practice them. So that's the agenda for today, sweet and simple. You need to do a little bit of something for me this time. Normally, I ask you to give your preferred response in the chat, which is fine. But as you know, a very important criteria in IELTS speaking is also pronunciation, which cannot be assessed if you are sending me your response in written format. So what you need to do, and this is some effort that you have to put in from your end, get a device, your phone. If you're watching this video on your phone, if you're watching the YouTube live on your phone, then get your mom's phone. I don't care. You need a particular device that can record, and you have to, as and when we're discussing these questions, record your response. I will give you some dedicated time to actually record a response, and then we can sort of, what you have to do, and this is you getting into the examiner's mindset. When we discuss the different responses, potential responses for each question, you have to see if your response has checked all the boxes. So not only are you behaving like the candidate, you are also then behaving like the examiner, doing both things from your end. And the benefits from this are going to be, okay, first I'll say hi. Yes, so the benefits from this are going to be manifold, because not only will you understand how you can, not only will you understand how to instantaneously come up with an answer for a question, you can also then critically analyze it and improve on it, right? So after the class, once you've taken down your own notes as to where your responses were lacking, you can then re-record a better response, okay? Clash with Skylar? Absolutely not. Hi Tarvai Prem. Hi NKCM. NKCM, what is your name? Pick your name for what? Is there anything worth being happy about if your name's Hitler? Hitler was a completely acceptable name before Adolf Hitler, and then nobody else has that name anymore. What is the reason for that? Do you want to be associated with someone who's responsible for genocide? Come on, man. There are other ways to be cool. Find those other ways, right? You're gonna go abroad to study. There are going to be, if you're a guy, there are going to be girls. If you're a girl, there are going to be guys. And if you identify as whatever and whatever, there's going to be someone for you there. I am open-minded, I'm very inclusive. So whoever it is that you're interested in, there's going to be someone for you there. And if your flirting game is this week, or if your way to be cool is naming yourself Adolf Hitler, then I'm sorry, you don't stand a chance. You don't stand a chance in India, let alone internationally. You can't go directly through IELTS. IELTS is one of the many things required to get admission abroad. Yes, you need a band score that the university has set as its minimum requirement. For example, there are universities that only want a band 6. There are universities that want a minimum band 7. Alright, so depending upon the university, you have to meet the minimum band requirement. So it's like one of the requirements that have to be met. It's not like I took the IELTS, I got a band 9, that means I will get admission in such and such university. That's not possible. There are at least 100 other things that a university is considering before accepting an application. Alright? See, if you have queries like this, wherein you are absolutely clueless about what is required to go abroad, what you need to be doing, what are the different things that can help you get or secure admission in your preferred university. If you're a bit clueless, like Clash with Skylar, I think you are. Yes, Abhi, universities are costly abroad because obviously you know the state of the rupee. How much is it compared to the dollar? And compared to the pound, it's even worse. So we're not faring that well when it comes to our currency, which is why foreign universities, especially in first world countries, become that much more expensive for us. But the thing is, you can secure scholarships. There are many other alternatives that can help you. And to get to know all of these things, you need admissions counseling. See, when I was studying, I did my high school from America. So we got admissions counseling in school for free. We had a counselor that we could go to. They would sit with us one-on-one and help us figure out what our future plans should be. Unfortunately, Indian schools don't provide that service, and any kind of counseling that you seek outside is very expensive. So your best bet is this that I'm giving you right here. As a matter of fact, it's very good expert counseling that's being given to you for free. So if you have questions like this, that one of my friends got admission, see, आप इधर उधर की सुनी सुनाई बातें अगर मुझे बताओगे, मैं आपको बोल रही हूँ गलत है. सिर्फ IELTS की वजह से admission नहीं मिला. IELTS is one of the many different things that you need to make sure you are doing in order to meet the requirements of the university. So IELTS में अच्छा स्कोर आने की वजह से एक एडमिशन मिला डायरेक्टली, ऐसा नहीं होता है. लेकिन यूनिवर्सिटी में एडमिशन मिलने के लिए IELTS में एक पर्टिकुलर बैंड लाना पड़ेगा, ये सच है. ओके, Sion, did you enter all your details accurately in the form? If not, I have raised this issue already. I will raise it again. Okay. Have you all filled your number accurately? Okay. If you are flagging that you haven't gotten call, then Prem, Sion, I will raise this with management today itself. All right. Okay. So let's start with part 1. This is your general introduction. Your responses here need to be 2 to 3 sentences long on average. So some questions will have shorter answers, some questions will have longer answers. Okay. So depending upon the question, your average should be 2 to 3 sentences. And you can keep this a little breezy and comfortable. Because these are all general questions about your life, you don't have to act too formal here. You can keep it breezy, you can keep it chill. You have to be respectful at all times. Don't forget, never forget to be respectful. That is something that you should always keep in mind. But you can be a little bit more chillaxed. Is that word still in use? It's a very millennial word. And most of you are what? Gen Alpha? You are maybe younger than Gen Z also, right? So I don't know if you know that word, but we used to use it all the time. So you need to keep it a bit relaxed. I'll come to relaxed instead of chillaxed. And you can refer to the videos that you can see on the channel, where we have actual mock interviews with candidates. So if you refer to those mock interviews, you will kind of understand the tone you need to have in this part of the speaking test. Okay? You're Gen Z only. Okay. That's good, Noel. See, English as a life skill is only going to become more and more important. You have to bear this in mind that whether we like it or not, and regardless of all the language related nationalism that we see in the country, if in the corporate sector or in the international sector, depending upon what you want to do in life, you have to realize that English is invaluable. It is something that's going to help you move ahead. Regardless of its politicization and everything that is being said about it in the political sphere, that's a different thing. But don't let that get in the way of your own success. I am saying, yes, you should absolutely value your own language. I myself don't speak English at home. I speak Hindi. I can read and write Hindi and Urdu both. So I value my languages. I can speak very weird Punjabi because that's my mother tongue, and I value these languages. And they're very close to my heart, and I want to get better at them. But those languages couldn't have helped me shape my career in the way that English has. And I'm talking about the days before I became an English teacher. I had a career before I became an English teacher as well. And that career was shaped by the fact that I could speak English properly. So English is an invaluable life skill. It will help you in your career. If you can speak good English, you will never be unemployed. Even in the hardest of times, you will get some job. Even call centers want people who can speak English, right? So it's always going to be important. Sachin, I can write in Gurmukhi script. I'm a little slow because I learnt it recently, but I can understand Gurmukhi. Oh, that's... See, Skibidi, all this Gen Z stuff I don't understand. You see, 86.54 rupees for a dollar. Fix your spelling of dollar. Luck Allen verse. But see, that's how the rupee is faring. Third largest economy in the world. Sachin, a lot of people, especially a lot of Punjabi people, used to read and write in Urdu, Hindi, the Devanagari script, Urdu script and Gurmukhi script. All three of these were taught in schools in Punjab. So it was a very common script for people to know in the Punjab area, especially before partition of India. English vocabulary is bad. How can I fix it? By listening to more and more people speak in English, by watching shows in English, listening to podcasts in English, reading in English, watching news in English. All of these things are going to slowly and steadily improve your vocabulary. One thing that you should not do to fix your vocabulary is mug up those books with a lot of vocabulary words. That will not help you. Vocabulary is always understood in context. Sorry, I got a little carried away by Sachin's comment. Why Z is pronounced? It's not pronounced G. Beta, remember this, it's never G. That's a mispronunciation. A lot of Indians don't say Z. Instead, we say J. And this happens to a lot of people from the Hindi belt, especially UP Bihar. So you have to make sure that you get it's a sound that you can pronounce. You know, sometimes it so happens that there are sounds in different languages that we are unable to pronounce because those are things that you pick up as a child. So there are many sounds like this. For example, a lot of people cannot say the r, which is a very Indic sound. Hindi ka sound hai r. काफी लोग नहीं बोल पाते, especially white people or people from native English speaking countries. They're unable to say r. They just say r. So you hear the difference in sound. ऐसे ही z और j है, but आप z बोल सकते हो. Z. There's a difference. So instead of saying 0, you have to say 0. Instead of saying G, like you said right now, it's Z. Okay? Z. So you have to practice that sound. And then you can say it. It's not a sound that you will be unable to pronounce. It's just a matter of practice. Okay? आयुष, हाथ बैठाने के लिए देखो आपको ना ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा उस भाषा को अपनी ज़िंदगी का पार्ट बनाना पड़ेगा, हिस्सा बनाना पड़ेगा। जितना आप उसको देखो, लैंग्वेज कभी भी 1-2 दिन में नहीं आती है, 1-2 हफ्ते में भी नहीं आती है, सालों साल लग जाते हैं। कंसिस्टेंट प्रैक्टिस एंड कंसिस्टेंट एक्सपोजर के साथ आप कोई भी लैंग्वेज पे पकड़ पा सकते हैं। कैसे करना है आप मज़े मज़े में कर सकते हो। कैसे? टीवी शोज़ देखो, अमेरिका यूके के बहुत अच्छे अच्छे फेमस टीवी शोज़ हैं, बहुत मज़ेदार 20-20 मिनट के एपिसोड वाले शोज़ देख लो, ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं है तो उसी में आपकी इंग्लिश इम्प्रूव हो जाएगी। न्यूज़ देखते हो, पढ़ते हो, उसको अंग्रेज़ी में पढ़िए, धीरे धीरे करके आ जाएगी। सचिन, इट्स ऐसा, नॉट एवरीथिंग हैज़ टू हैव अ लॉजिक। व्हाट साउंड इज ज मेकिंग? उसको जी बोलो, जेड बोलो, वो साउंड क्या बना रहा है? ज बना रहा है ना? तो ये चलन की बात होती है, आदत की बात होती है। कहीं पे कुछ बोलना शुरू कर दिया, कहीं पे कुछ बोलना शुरू कर दिया। ऐसा क्यों है कि यहीं पर हिंदी है, चाइना में चाइनीज है? क्यों है ऐसा? बस हो गया। तो ऐसा है कि अमेरिका में जी बोलते आए तो जी वहां पर बन गया इस अल्फाबेट का नाम। ब्रिटेन में जहां से हमें अपनी अंग्रेजी मिली है, फ्रॉम द ब्रिटिश एम्पायर, वहां पे जेड sorry, there was a little bit of fluctuation. I am back, I think. Vocabulary and phonics. See, it's not phonics, it's phonics. Phonics means the sounds that are being produced in a language. We have different letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. It sounds like that song. But the point is, we call the letter A, but it can produce many different sounds. For example, in the word after, A is producing the sound A. In the word ant, A is producing the sound A. Alive, in the word alive, A is producing the sound A. So it can also be A. These different sounds, one letter is producing, which is A. That is phonics. What sound each letter produces. Vocabulary are वो जिसको हम शब्दकोश बोलते हैं, the words that you use to form sentences, to express your ideas, to express your thoughts, the different words that are used, those words are your vocabulary. There is no such thing as vocabularies, it's simply vocabulary. Okay? क्या विचार साझा करूं मैं किस बात पे? लंदन जाने के सपने हैं। सपने कभी देखो, सपने तो बड़े ही देखने चाहिए और फिर उनकी तरफ काम करना चाहिए। आपने सपना देख लिया है कि आप लंदन जाना चाहते हो, अब वहाँ के लिए आपको ये महसूस हो गया है कि हिंदी में काम नहीं चलेगा, जबकि वहाँ पे आपको बहुत लोग मिल जाएंगे जो हिंदी बोलते होंगे या उर्दू बोलते होंगे, जो कि सेम ही भाषा है एक तरीके से देखा जाए तो। हम जो कॉमन हिंदी यूज़ करते हैं वो बहुत मिलती जुलती है उर्दू से। तो वहाँ पर बहुत लोग होंगे जो आपको समझ जाएंगे, ठीक है। लेकिन काम चलाने के लिए आपको इंग्लिश जाननी ज़रूरी है। बहुत लोग बिना अंग्रेज़ी जाने भी वहाँ पहुँच जाते हैं, स्पेशली जो लोग छोटी मोटी नौकरियाँ करते हैं, जैसे टैक्सी चलाना, स्वीपिंग वगैरह करना। उसमें मतलब कोई भी काम छोटा बड़ा नहीं होता, बोलने का मेरा मतलब वो नहीं है, पर ऐसी नौकरियाँ जिनके लिए आपको ज़्यादा एजुकेशन की ज़रूरत नहीं है, तो वो लोग मोस्टली वहाँ जाकर इंग्लिश सीखते हैं और वहाँ रह के उनको ऑटोमेटिकली 3-4 साल में बढ़िया अंग्रेज़ी आ जाती है। लैंग्वेज आसान मुश्किल नहीं होती, इट्स जस्ट अ मैटर ऑफ आपको बचपन से क्या आ गया। अब आप हिंदी इतनी अच्छी बोल लेते हैं तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप इंटेलिजेंट हैं, इसका मतलब ये है कि बचपन से आपको हिंदी ही सिखाई गई है। तो सिमिलरली जो लोग इंग्लिश बोल रहे हैं, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि वो सारे बहुत हाई IQ हैं, बहुत इंटेलिजेंट है। इसका मतलब सिर्फ ये है कि सीखने के लिए बहुत रेडी होता है, वो स्टेट में होता है कि वो जितना इन्फॉर्मेशन अब्जॉर्ब कर सके वो कर लेता है। अब जैसे जैसे हम बड़े होते हैं हमारा ब्रेन ऑलरेडी भर चुका है बहुत ज़्यादा, अब इसमें और कोई नई चीज़ डालना थोड़ा डिफ़िकल्ट हो जाता है। इस वजह से व्हेन यू आर ओल्डर इट बिकम्स हार्डर टू लर्न अ लैंग्वेज, बट यू स्टिल कैन डू इट। और अभी तो आप इतने बड़े भी नहीं हुए हो जितना आपको लग रहा है। हाँ जी, क्यों नहीं, सब कर सकते हैं। Ashwin, yes. See, some colleges will let go of IELTS if they recognize your secondary school certificate and English के marks देखकर. There are some schools that will give you your English proficiency certificate or whatever it is that the requirement is based on your medium of instruction and your marks in English, but not all. So IELTS largely is still required. It's still a necessity. Okay? Alright, now we have spent 20 minutes talking about your concerns. Like I said, I will schedule a session where you can just ask me questions like this and we can do a chit chat regarding this. Okay, I'll call it an ask me anything session. Today we are focusing on part 1 of IELTS speaking test. So here's the first set of questions I have for you, and all of them have to do with accommodation. What is accommodation? What is the meaning of accommodation? Yes, where you live. Where you live. Okay. So here these questions are going to be about where you live. So what is the first question here? Tell me about the kind of accommodation you live in. Okay. So tell me about the kind of accommodation you live in. How will you answer this question? Now, like I said, ideally you should record a response on your phone and listen to it, and also give me on the chat how you will respond to a question like this. Tell me about the kind of accommodation you live in. What are the different kind of accommodations? You can be in an apartment, an independent house. You can live in a mansion. You can live in a penthouse. You can live in a small flat. You can live in a cottage. Right? These are many different kinds of accommodation. So, Prem, people don't know around the world what this BHK system is, because this is something we follow in India. So, instead you can explain that I live in a flat, in a 3-bedroom flat or a 3-bedroom apartment. Okay? See, there might be people who come from a little economically disadvantaged backgrounds, and that's absolutely fine. You should not be ashamed of sharing anything about your life. So if you do in fact live in a jhopadi, explain what it is. Explain what it is. Sion, you live in the entire 3-story building by yourself? Or do you live in a flat in a 3-story building? Is it a 3-story building that you live in by yourself, or do you live in one of the flats in the building? Sachin, your sentence does not make sense. I got accepted at my residence by my parents. What does this mean? What are you trying to say? Obviously, until you are independent, you will live with your parents. That's very understood. हाँ जी रॉकस्टार, आप कर सकते हैं बाहर जाकर पढ़ाई। ऐसी कोई मनाही नहीं है कि हिंदी मीडियम के स्टूडेंट्स बाहर जाके पढ़ाई नहीं कर सकते, बिल्कुल बेशक कर सकते हैं। Korean lifestyle, did I ask you where you will live, or am I asking you where you are currently living? Did I ask you where you will live or where are you currently living? So what can the response to a question like this be? It's very simple, like I currently live in a flat. Oh, there's a little bit of... आयुष, अगर आप एक इकलौते चले गए वहां पे अंग्रेजों को लूटने के लिए, तो आपको 7 जन्म लग जाएंगे उतना लूटने के लिए जितना वो हमें लूट के गए हैं. तो पूरे सब कॉन्टिनेंट का बदला आप अकेले तो ले नहीं सकते. तो आप अपनी जिंदगी के बारे में सोचो, कुछ ऐसा करो, जागरूकता फैलाओ इस बारे में अगर आपको इस चीज से दिक्कत होती है. लेकिन आप अकेले तो इतना नहीं लूट पाओगे जितना उन्होंने हमें लूटा है. Not accommodated to a small apartment. See, if you're saying words like this, not only does it sound too formal and too weird, nobody talks like this actually, but it's also grammatically incorrect. So you can just simply say I live in a house with my parents, right? Yes. So Sachin, the first 2 sentences are great. Last sentence, instead of saying daily I start my day with a glance of the Himalayas, I start my mornings with a glance at the Himalayas is enough. Daily word is not required there, and starting with daily makes the sentence sound odd. So instead you can say I start my mornings with a glance at the Himalayas, and it feels serene and beautiful. It's the perfect start to my day. All right. I know there was a little bit of a internet issue. It's sorted now. Okay, moving on to the next question. Do you live in a house or a flat? Do you all know the difference between a house and a flat? Do you know the difference between a house and a flat? जिसको हम बोलते हैं जड़ से बना हुआ है, जमीन से बना हुआ है, that is a house. And अगर एक particular building है जिसमें each floor belongs to a different person, that's a flat. And if you live in a building complex where each floor has multiple flats, that is an apartment. Okay? Alright, so I live in a flat. It is on the 2nd floor, 3rd floor, 5th floor, whatever. Okay? Or I live in a house. Okay, is the issue still there? Is there a delay in my voice? If you live, जैसे होता है ना कि आपके दादा परदादा का घर था, मकान था, then you can say I live in an independent house and it's my family's ancestral property. क्या बोलते हैं उस टाइप की जो परदादा के दादा का घर था, जो काफी सदियों से आपके घर में है और इनहेरिट होता रहता है जनरेशन आफ्टर जनरेशन, उसको बोलते हैं ancestral property. Ancestral property, ठीक है? So you should know all these different words. He, maybe you are, if you're wearing headphones or something, हो सकता है your connection is a little loose or something wrong at your end. हाँ जी, Haveli is a mansion. Haveli is a mansion. Now your ancestral property doesn't have to be a Haveli. It can be a small property also. जिसको हम हवेली बोलते हैं, that's like a mansion. Okay? Very good, Karthik. That is one perfect response. Very good job. Instead of 2 BHK, you can just say I live in a 2-bedroom house in Bengaluru with my parents, and my neighborhood is peaceful and there is a beautiful park full of trees in my locality. I usually go to the park in the evenings to play for a walk or to play some sport. Okay? So instead of the BHK, we all have this habit of doing BHK, but one thing to remember, instead of BHK, you can do 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 3 bedroom apartment, 2 bedroom apartment, okay? Alright? And if there is a lot of houses in India, we don't have a backyard, but we have a front yard, like a courtyard. So you can say there's a small courtyard in front of my house, and that my parents usually grow plants over there, grow some vegetables, and it's a very beautiful space where I like to spend my evenings drinking chai or coffee, tea or coffee. Alright? हाँ जी, प्राचीन काल की भी नहीं, थोड़े आपके परदादा के टाइम से भी आ रही हो तो आप उसको अपनी ancestral property बोल सकते हैं. See, Prem, avoid using the word where I reside. It just sounds unnecessarily formal. Instead, say that my house is right in the heart of Indore, and you can then describe that there are many marketplaces and a lot of iconic Indori sites around my house. Okay? Alright. Good job. Next question. Is it a big place? So you can say it's not very big in terms of square meters, but it is big enough to accommodate all of us. And for me, the size of the house doesn't matter as much. What matters more is who I'm living with and how comfortable I am in their company. Something like that. Or you can say it's not a very big house and we are planning to move to a bigger space because of the growing size of our family. Or you can say that it's a huge house. If you like the fact that it's a huge house, talk about how you have so much space to do everything. If you don't like the fact that it's a huge house, you can say it's too big actually and it's quite difficult to maintain. So we are considering downsizing. When you want to, this is a trending term, that's why I'm telling you. If your house is too big, or you have too much stuff, or if you have more than the number of cars required by all your family members, and if you're trying to get rid of this extra stuff, instead of being in a very big house, you want to move to a smaller space. Instead of having too many things, you want to give away and only keep what's necessary. Instead of having 4 cars, you only want to keep 2 cars. So you can say that we are downsizing. Downsizing, okay? Sachin, all of Pakistan is your ancestral property? Was Raja Ranjit Singh, Maharaja Ranjit Singh your Pardada? Fatigue means feeling tired and low. रॉकस्टार वोकैबुलरी में कभी कोई नंबर नहीं होता कि आपको इतने शब्द आ गए तो आपकी वोकैबुलरी अच्छी है. IELTS in any case focuses on the range of vocabulary that you have. So it's more about being able to use different words that are appropriate for different topics. जैसे कि अगर अभी हम accommodation की बात कर रहे हैं तो हमने कितनी चीजें देखी. 2 bedroom apartment, apartment flat, cottage, ancestral property, downsizing, upsizing. ये सारे जो शब्द हैं ये accommodation से related है. Courtyard, front yard, backyard, fencing, all of these words. तो ये बहुत हाई लेवल वोकैबुलरी नहीं है, पर टॉपिक स्पेसिफिक वोकैबुलरी है. जिस बारे में हम बात कर रहे हैं उसके बारे में हमें बात करने में सहायता करते हैं ये शब्द. ऐसे शब्द जानना जरूरी है अलग अलग टॉपिक्स के बारे में. ठीक है. All right. Next question. Does the place you live in have many amenities? What is amenities? Now, for example, you'll see a lot of up and coming housing projects I live in NCR. So a lot of these housing complexes in Gurgaon or Noida, they tend to have everything inside the housing complex. So you enter the gate, there are many different 20, 30 floor long buildings, right? And they have apartments there, and then in the complex itself, you have a gym, you have a grocery store, you have a movie theater, you have a badminton court, you have a tennis court, you have a basketball court, you have a swimming pool. All of these things are amenities that are provided to residents of a particular housing complex or a housing project. Right? So, Sachin, what do you mean by we have some neighbors accommodated to it? आप इस लाइन से क्या बोलना चाह रहे हो? What does it mean? Some neighbors accommodated to it. इस बात का मतलब क्या बना? आप क्या बोलना चाह रहे हो मुझे हिंदी में बताओ, then I'll tell you how to say it in English properly, because this line is incorrect, okay? So here you can say the place I live in is in an old part of the city, so I wouldn't say there are many modern day amenities, but I like it that way. Everything that I need is a 5 to 6 minute walk away, and so I don't really mind, and it's always good to get some steps in. So you can give a response like this. You can say, I wouldn't say I have a lot of amenities around my house, but because we're in the digital age and everything is practically just a click away, I am able to order anything and everything that I need, and it's delivered to my doorstep, so I don't really feel the lack of amenities. This is a different answer. If you live in one of those housing complexes, you can say, I feel like I don't ever have to leave my housing complex because everything that I require is within it. We have a swimming pool, we have a gym, my school is in the complex, we have a movie theater in the complex, we have many different restaurants, all my friends are there. So I practically don't even feel the need to leave my housing complex in order to do something. I feel like my entire world sort of is within those gates. So that's it. I gave you 3 different answers, okay? आपने कुछ नेबर्स को किराए पर रखा है. If you are talking about किसी को किराए पर रखना, what do you call them? Yes, George, Queen grammar makes a huge difference. आपने किसी को किराए पर रखा है. What do you call it in English? We have rented out a room or a floor, and we have, what is this word? Tenants. We have tenants, okay? कोरियन लाइफस्टाइल, आपका ह्यूमर तो मेरे को समझ में नहीं आया. किसी और को समझ में आया तो हंस लो भाई, जोक मारा है. स्पेसिफिक नहीं सायोन, स्पेसिफिक. स्पेसिफिक. सायोन, हाउस में कभी भी वैसे उस टाइप की अमेनिटीज नहीं होंगी. लोकेलिटी की ही बात हो रही है. डज द प्लेस यू लिव इन मीन्स लोकेलिटी ओनली, ओके? सो नाउ यू नो. सचिन, किराए पर रखा है तो टेनेंट्स है. My house was so big and we were only 3 people living in it that we felt like a lot of the extra space was being wasted. So we decided to monetize it by renting it out. Now we have a few tenants in our property and they are our neighbors, or they used to be our neighbors, so we are on friendly terms with them and it's a win-win situation for all. Okay? All right, next, what do you like about living there? What do you like about living there? तो generally आप बोल सकते हो आपको अपने एरिया के बारे में क्या अच्छा लगता है. अगर आपको कुछ नहीं पसंद, then you can say something like, I really don't like staying there, I'm just doing it because My parents live there and I want to start earning as soon as possible in order to get them out of that place. If by chance you don't like the area in which you live. If you like the area in which you live, you say, I'm very emotionally attached to it because I grew up in this house. All my childhood friends live around the place and I have a lot of good memories from childhood. So I think there is always an aspect of attachment when it comes to nostalgia. Practically speaking, the house is quite old and it is time for us to upgrade. So I told you about downsizing. When you want to move to a better place, what do you call it? You call it upgrading. Upgrade. कोरियन लाइफस्टाइल आपके घर के आसपास काफ़ी लड़कियां रहती है बट आई गारंटी यू ऐसी अंग्रेजी बोलोगे तो एक भी भाव नहीं देगी बिकॉज आर लिविंग नहीं होता है कंटिन्यूअस टेंस में नहीं बोलते हम इस चीज को क्या बोलते हैं लिव नियर बाय ओके ठीक है नेक्स्ट Is there anything you would like to change about the place you live in? You can talk about different things like garbage disposal facility. That's a huge problem, or just littering, people not throwing garbage in the designated spots. That's a huge issue with a lot of Indian localities. So you can talk about that. You can say that one thing that I definitely like to change is the garbage disposal facility. Right now people just throw garbage wherever they see, and especially if there's an empty plot somewhere. People tend to just start throwing garbage there, and once a small pile of garbage is created, people just start adding to it and soon it becomes a mountain of garbage. This is a very Indian problem. You can talk about this. Other than that, maybe, safety. I would like to improve the safety of my area. There have been some thefts recently and I'd want to add more gates, secure gates and nighttime guards in order to make sure that we're all safe in the society. Stuff like that, okay? How long have you lived there? This is a very straightforward question. Since childhood, since I was born, moved 2 years ago, etc., etc. Do you plan to live there for a long time? It depends on you. Yes, no. If you like the place, if you've spoken about it positively so far, then yes, you would like to keep that place forever. In fact, I would want my children to inherit this house from me, especially if it's your ancestral property. Then yes, you would like to keep it in the family forever. Is there a garden in the place you live in? Again, you can talk about your house itself. For example, if you have a front yard or a backyard, you can have a garden. Some people have a terrace garden. Some people have a balcony garden. So you can talk about having big balconies in your house and growing some plants over there. Otherwise, you can say no, because I live in a flat. I don't have a garden inside my house. But my apartment complex, or you can even say my society, has a few nice gardens. All right? Sion, yes. And for people who live in Gurgaon, there's a constant drainage problem. Or people who live in Whitefield in Bengaluru, there's also constant drainage problem over there. It rains a little bit and suddenly you have full swimming pools all around you. Okay, so this was about accommodation. Now let's move on to a new topic, which is, whoops. That's nice, Pesa. That's nice, Juan. One, I don't think it's now safe anymore to live in that US-Mexico border. So you might want to move. All right, art and photography. This is a little niche because not everyone is into art, but we can still try and answer these questions in case they are asked in the IELTS. Do you like art? Give me answers quickly. I'm going to just quickly drink water and come. Prem, it is, your answer is not expanded enough. What do you mean? You said I used to. You say I used to like art as a child. A better way of saying what you're saying is I used to like art as a child. One, let me tell you genuinely that it's okay to joke about these things right now. But if you do it on the internet regularly, it can severely impact your ability to get a visa, especially to the US, because they're now scrutinizing social media activity. And if you have been posting stuff like this, chances are your visa will get rejected on the basis of this. So be a little careful. Now you're doing it from a fake ID. If you've blocked your IP address and all, that's fine. Don't do it from your actual ID, okay? Frankly speaking, I just love to see other people draw. Or I love to see what other people have drawn. But when I draw or paint, it looks a bit pathetic. So I wouldn't say I'm an artist. Okay, if you're making fun of yourself or if you're taking a jibe at yourself, it's fine to do that, but do it with a little bit of laughter, I would say. Just say something like, every time I try my hand at painting, I end up with a mess. And so I think it's just something I can appreciate from a distance, not do it myself. Okay? Sion, good answer. And then you expanded your own definition of art, right? So you say, for example, do you like art? If you're speaking strictly in terms of painting, then I like it like as any other layman might. I know a few famous paintings and I can appreciate the talent and work that's been put into it, but I wouldn't say I'm a connoisseur of art. What is this word that I used? What is this word that I used? This is something you can add to your vocabulary. What are some words associated with art? Connoisseur, art collector. All right? You can say something like, I appreciate art and I can recognize a few famous paintings, but I wouldn't say I'm a connoisseur of art and I like it as much as any other layman might. Okay, one interesting. Okay, a connoisseur, first learn how to pronounce it. Connoisseur is an expert judge, especially in things that require good taste. What does good taste mean? Refined taste, good taste. Things like music, classical music, art, some very delicate and complicated cuisine, stuff like that. Mostly things related to, or things that are considered a bit expensive and niche, and only, generally members of high society have historically enjoyed these things. So if you have a very deep interest in something and you feel like your taste in it is very good and you can easily judge whether or not it's good. For example, if you know how to play the violin and you know classical music very deeply, then you can be a connoisseur of classical music and you can instantly tell when the person playing has good talent and what they've created is a good piece of music or not. Similarly with art, somebody who's really into art can name all the classical paintings and painters, knows a lot and is an expert when it comes to assessing other people's artwork. That makes you a connoisseur of art. Okay? A collector of art is somebody who likes collecting expensive paintings. So they will go out of their way to bid on, some M.F. Hussain, what are some famous Indian painters? The M.F. Hussain came to my mind. But yeah, you get it. They'll bid on some very historically famous paintings and artwork, and they'll pay a lot of money to have them in their homes. So those people are collectors of art, all right? Okay, so do you like art? Yes, no, maybe, whatever. Do you think art classes are necessary? My response here would be, I definitely think art classes are necessary, especially in the younger grades, because it gives people an outlet for their creativity and a much needed break from academic pursuits. Art is very important in the context of the world, because art is never isolated. Art always showcases what life is like, what our social, political or economic struggles might be, and leaves a legacy of the era or of the time. So I think cultivating respect and love for art and figuring out early the kind of people who are naturally gifted when it comes to art is necessary, which is why art classes should take place, especially in the younger grades. In the older grades, it can always be a choice. And people should be taught about art. This is my personal opinion, okay? How do you think art classes affect children's development? So it definitely has a positive impact on child development. Children who are allowed to do art understand a lot of different things like textures, colors, spatial awareness, perspective. So I think, I haven't researched this a lot, but I definitely feel like it does impact their mental ability when it comes to other things such as mathematics as well. Other than that, obviously just being able to creatively express yourself is a good outlet for emotions. And I think children who do art regularly are more emotionally regulated than other children. It's also definitely a great way to pass time as opposed to spending all of your free time looking at a screen, watching content made by other people. So that's my answer. Okay, good, space arc. Overwhelmed. Overwhelmed is when you have very intense emotions about something. Right? You can either be very happy or you can be very sad. When you intensely feel an emotion, that means you're overwhelmed. It can also be used in the sense of, hey, we had an overwhelming response. Maybe you put out posters for something, for a donation drive, and you didn't expect a lot of people to participate. But you got so many callbacks that it was an overwhelming response. Karthik, good. AI will finished, no, finish. You're talking in the simple future tense, then after will, you will use what form of the verb? Base form of the verb, okay? Alright, next. What benefits can you get from painting as a hobby? Again, I've already answered this in the previous question, so response, this is just kind of the same question asked in a different way. Do you like to take photographs? Now we've moved on to photography. So you can say something like, I think everyone has become a photographer in some capacity after smartphones have become a household item. So I would say everyone takes photographs, myself included, but I don't necessarily like taking photographs. If somebody else can do it for me, I would prefer that over doing it myself. Do you prefer to take photos yourself or you have other people? So I answered that question also in the previous question only, okay? You can't really say the class is overwhelming without giving context. It's the context that helps you decide whether overwhelming was a positive thing or a negative thing. For example, the exam pressure was overwhelming. In this case, it's negative because exam pressure is generally associated with a negative thing. Now here for the class, you have not really explained whether something positive is happening or something negative is happening. So your context is not enough to give overwhelming its meaning. Next, how often do you take photographs? I think we all take photographs every day. I mostly take photographs of my cats. That's the only kind of photography I enjoy doing. And so that happens regularly, I would say even every day. Okay. See, your opinion on AI is good that you are developing it. Think about it. Some people say that, it's not as easy. If you want AI to create something good, then you also have to prompt it accordingly. You have to teach it, train it accordingly. And that itself requires effort. I would say definitely does not require enough effort. You can easily come up with prompts, and becoming a prompt expert also is not the same as spending years and years mastering and practicing techniques to become a painter. So I personally wouldn't say prompting AI to create art is at the same level as becoming an expert painter. Definitely not. But has AI made painting and art accessible to people? Absolutely. Painting generally is considered something, a talent that you're born with. And so it's a matter of luck. If you are a good painter, it's because that has been passed down to you in genetics, or for those who believe in God, it's God's grace that made you a good painter. But with AI, anybody can put their or make their ideas and thoughts come to life. The inability to paint doesn't stand in the way. So that is a counter argument for AI art. Does that make sense? So one argument is that painters spend almost a lifetime mastering their craft, and it takes a lot of effort, a lot of dedication to actually be able to paint and wow people with your work. But having said that, painting at the end of the day is something that you're either gifted at or not gifted at. Developing that skill becomes very difficult, and you can only build on that skill if you have it in the first place. Some people are just very good at drawing, some people are not, and no matter how hard these people try, they will never reach the level of the people who are simply born being good at drawing and painting. So in that sense, AI gives the capability to people who are not gifted at drawing to still bring their ideas to life. And in that sense, AI art might be a good thing. The only way to ethically way to make this entire thing a bit more ethical, I would say, would be to not put AI art in the same category as actual art, and to always mention that this piece of art is AI generated. Just like diamonds, it's important to disclose that these are natural diamonds, these are lab-grown diamonds, even though I feel like all diamonds are a scam. That's my personal opinion. But you have to specify that these are lab-grown diamonds. Similarly, I think you have to disclose that this is AI art. That is a non-negotiable. Other than that, I can see how AI art can be helpful for some people who have a lot of ideas that they wish to express but simply don't have the capability to draw well. Okay? Where's your answer, Sion? Happy to say yes, I like taking photographs. The biggest reason is I come from a city. Please don't use continuous tense for things like this. I am living, there are girls living, there are many girls living. What did you say? I forgot what you said. But here, I am coming from a city. I come from a city. I come from a city which is full of places, you can say, which is full of monuments and iconic places that can be photographed, worthy of being photographed. Alright, Kolkata is a very photographer friendly city. Every corner you will find something so beautiful to take a photograph of. Alright, next. Okay, so these art and photography questions, because we have to now move on to country. These art and photography questions you can for homework practice. So what do you have to do? You have to record your answer, listen to it, think like an examiner whether or not you can assess your answers correct. You know the way I am correcting your answers, you can do that for yourself as well. So make sure you're practicing with these questions, okay? And finally, we'll go on to our last category for today, which is मेरा भारत महान और country. You know, it could be from anywhere. सबके लिए उनका देश महान ही होता है ना? Okay. What is your country famous for? What is India famous for? Come on. So the first thing you need to mention when you're asked what is your country famous for, first thing you have to say is I am Indian or I come from India. So then once you have specified that, then you can go ahead and say what your country is famous for. So batao, I want to hear your opinions on this. What is your country famous for? Space Ark, Isaac Asimov की story है वो, the fun they had, and Isaac Asimov has written a lot of science fiction, and बहुत चर्चा हो चुकी है इन बातों पे already, and I feel like even if AI teachers do take jobs from actual teachers, एक teaching is something जो एक गुरु है वो नेसेसरी रहेगा, बिकॉज अ टीचर डजंट जस्ट टीच सब्जेक्ट्स. हाँ ठीक है, एआई आपको सब्जेक्ट नॉलेज दे देगा, ठीक है, एआई बिना थके बिना ब्रेक लिए और बहुत काम कर सकता है, बट एक जो अनुभव और एक्सपीरियंस है कि जिंदगी कैसे जीनी है, कैसे जी जा सकती है, दैट्स ऑल्सो समथिंग दैट टीचर्स हेल्प देयर स्टूडेंट्स आउट विद. इसलिए जब हम याद करते हैं अपने टीचर्स को, हाँ ठीक है, मेरे फिज़िक्स के टीचर ने फिज़िक्स को बहुत आसान बना के पढ़ाया, लेकिन हमेशा उसमें एक एडेड चीज़ और होएगी कि वो बहुत एम्पैथेटिक थे, उन्होंने मुझे बहुत सपोर्ट किया, उन्होंने मुझे बहुत समझाया, उन्होंने मुझे बहुत इंस्पायर किया. ये सपोर्ट, एम्पैथाइज और इंस्पायर कभी भी टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं कर पाएगी, वो एक इंसान ही कर पाएगा. तो वो जो एस्पेक्ट है टीचिंग का, आई डोंट थिंक दैट कैन एवर बी रिप्लेस्ड. Other things obviously can be replaced. Is practicing with AI helpful? Absolutely, 100%. I've said this many times. As an Indian, I like to say nahi, I would or I'd like to say. ठीक है? I'd like to say my country is famous for culture and art, and also for food, which personally is my favorite. You can always add the word personally, right? Which personally is my favorite part about my country. Noel, what species? Species of animals or species of humans? प्रेम शर्मा, सी you're talking about one person. तो ये आंसर आप किसी ऐसे क्वेश्चन में दोगे ना, टॉक अबाउट अ सेलिब्रिटी, उसमें आप ये मेंशन कर दो, पर आप पूरी कंट्री के बारे में बात करो. सो देयर इज अ लॉट मोर दैट यू कैन से. सो आई वुडंट से प्रेम दैट योर आंसर इज अ गुड आंसर फॉर दिस. हाँ, स्पेसाक यू कैन से, आई विश टू से, बट वो थोड़ा फॉर्मल ज्यादा लग रहा है. If you can pull it off, then yes, लेकिन अजीब लगेगा. हाँ, spices. That's what I thought, Noel, that you meant spices. So my answer for this would be, I come from India, and while many people think India is a big, chaotic mess, one thing that makes me feel very proud, and one thing that India should ideally be famous for in the entire world, is the fact that all religions of the world are able to coexist in my country. There are countries in the world where one religious majority is fighting amongst itself, whereas here, despite certain issues and strifes, most religions of the world, if not all, have been able to peacefully coexist for centuries. That's something that I'm really proud of, and that's something that makes my country famous. Next, where do you live in your country? So my answer for this is, I live in the north. I live in the capital of the country, or very close to the capital of my country, which is Delhi. And even though I wasn't born here and I moved to Delhi quite later in my life, I think it's a city that I was meant to be in, and I am very connected to it, almost like my soul always belonged here. That's how I feel about this city. What pink taxis is your country known for? What are you saying? Is it an interesting place to live in? Absolutely, I would say it 100% is. Not only does it have something for everyone, it might seem hostile at first and it might have a bad reputation, but once you become assimilated, you are just simply welcomed. There are no outsiders in Delhi. Everyone's part of the city, if they wish to be. And another very interesting thing about it is Delhi has been the seat of capital, not just for our present government, but for many big empires in the past. So it has thousands of years of history that is visually available for you to see as you travel from the southernmost part of Delhi to the north of Delhi. You can see the changing dynasties and changing seats of power from the architecture itself, which I think is very interesting. All right. What did you mail for? Are you planning to live there in the future? Unfortunately, the one thing that Delhi is struggling with right now is pollution. As much as I never want to leave this city, if the pollution remains, it's the most polluted city in the world. So if the pollution levels remain the same, it will become practically unlivable in the coming future, and in that case, I'd be forced to leave. But I do hope from the bottom of my heart that the government and the people together do something so that Delhi is not subjected to such dangerous levels of pollution. These were my answers. You can have different answers. All right. Vedant, you don't know how to search in the dictionary? Nobody taught you? Prem Sharma, very good. You explained Indore is in MP, but you also have to explain where MP is in India. So you can say Madhya Pradesh, which is the heart of India. That's something you can say, that's something it's famous for. Smack in the middle of the country. In fact, you can build on this. You can say Indore is actually famous all across the country for being the cleanest city in India, and is often cited as a case study for other cities and how they too can achieve similar levels of cleanliness. Apart from that, the street food is famous and it is delectable, or some other word that means very tasty. Okay? I live in the city which is known for its culture, art, heritage. So Sion, instead of doing this build-up kind of thing, you can say I am from Kolkata, which used to be the capital of the British Empire in India. My city is famous for its art, culture, heritage, and also for the famous thinker, philosopher, and poet Rabindranath Tagore, author and poet Rabindranath Tagore. Actually, Satyaniketan is not in Kolkata, no? It's a little outside of Kolkata. So that might be wrong. You should check that. India is a highly vibrant country with rich culture, all religions around the world, spirituality and astonishing architecture. India is a very colorful country. Yeah, I know, Sion, chat is a bit short, which is why I asked you, you have to record your own answers. And Vedant, go to www.oxfordlearnerdictionaries.com. Put in the word, you will get meanings, you will get sentence examples. Okay? You are not little children where, ma'am, what is the meaning? This is, you don't know how to use the dictionary. www.oxfordlearnersdictionaries.com. Here you go. I've sent it in the chat. You can copy paste this. Okay? Nobody knows all the words in the world. Who is expected to know all the words? But we all have dictionaries. We can always look up the meaning of words. What's the problem? Prem, you don't really have to add it because it's asking you where do you live in your country currently. But if you feel like it can be a natural part of your answer, then definitely you can add that. Let's search your word, defenestration. Defenestration is not in the Oxford Learners Dictionary only. So it's probably some very archaic, rare word. Let's see. Defenestration. The action of throwing someone out of a window. Death by defenestration has a venerable history. Okay, interesting. It's not, the meaning is not window. It is to throw somebody out of a window. Meaning is not window. It is to throw somebody out of a window. That is the act of defenestration. Verb form is defenestrate. It's very rare usage. Not used anymore. It is to throw somebody out of a window. Defenestrate. Not defenestrate. Defenestration. Okay, interesting word was learnt today. Don't use this word in the IELTS, please. Aman, yes, you have to be fluent. Now, the thing is, you can make some errors, but those have to be the kind of errors that native speakers make. I would really highly recommend you watch shows like, Friends. It's a fun, easy show, quick show. Has a lot of instances of, just... I can't see, if you... For example, there was this one episode where there are these two characters, Chandler and Monica. They end up together, okay? And so they start dating. And so Chandler moves into Monica's apartment. Now, Monica throughout the show is known to be like a control freak, OCD type of a person, wants everything very clean and in its place. But she ends up having, or there is this closet in her apartment that's never been opened. And so Chandler gets curious, or I think his credit card goes into the cupboard or something, or the room, storage room kind of a thing, and he wants to open it to see what's in it. And Monica doesn't let him. And then at one point, when she does allow him to open it, she says that, this is something that I'm not proud of, but this is the one place where I dump things in. Now, throughout the show, she shames other people for being kind of dirty and leaving things around messy. And then she has this full closet full of dumped items. So at this point, there is this one line that Chandler says, which I remember, which is something along the lines of, yeah, so Monica says something like, I'm so glad you love me for who I am. Or, just even though I have this side, I'm glad you still love me. And then Chandler corrects her and he says something like, I love you despite of this. Right? So these are little things, and there are a lot of dialogues like this in the show where they are doing this for humor, but they're using English to bring about that humor, okay? And you will get to know, get to understand a lot of these things. So what I'll do is, if I can find these clips, I can sort of cut them out and post them as shorts so that you can see if there's no copyright issue. But just watching this also, it's funny, but also it'll give you that sort of insight into the different uses of words and how they subtly change the meaning of sentences and stuff like that. Okay? One, if you don't know, you are living under a rock. So it's not a spoiler. Yes, Aman, it is, I wouldn't say it's good. I'm saying it's something you have to do. You can only become fluent like a native speaker if you watch shows in English. No other way. Because it's only in shows. See, if you're watching a news item also, that's still scripted in the sense that somebody's giving you information. It's very one-sided. It's not a conversation. The only place where you get to see real life conversation between people is shows, is through dialogues, right? That's why I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying it's necessary. You have to do it. Millionaire, I've made an entire video on this. You can find that video for different criteria for speaking, different band descriptors for the speaking test. I've already made a very detailed video answering your question. Great job, Tanmay. I am sure you will. Prashant, fluency does not matter. Fluency is one of the 4 main criteria of assessment. So the 4 things that are being assessed in your speaking test. Number 1 thing is fluency and coherence. Then you have lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and then pronunciation, okay? So fluency is just not important. Fluency is 25% of your score, okay? All right, if you really want to understand the brand descriptors in more detail, before the next class, I will spend 10-15 minutes explaining all the band descriptors to you. Yes, one, you have to mimic the natives for fluency. You don't have to change your accent. You don't have to start talking like this in order to sound fluent. That's not required. You can talk in your normal Indian accent, but you have to sort of mimic the way they speak to sound more fluent and coherent, okay? No, this is it, Sion. That's the end of today's class. All right, thank you so much for your participation. All of you did a good job. I will see you in the next class. Till then, please take care. And I know you all have a lot of concerns and questions. So I promise to schedule an Ask Me Anything sort of a session where the entire 1 hour can be spent simply talking about the different problems that you have and me coming up with. See, the thing is, your name is derived from Spanish. So there's no way to call it Juan. It has to be Juan because it's a Spanish name. Proper noun is a different thing. That has nothing to do with accent. That has to do with pronunciation. In fact, pronunciation has nothing to do with accent. Pronunciation has to do with syllable stress and how to stress the different parts of the words to make sure they're being pronounced accurately. Again, I will explain this in a short video that I will upload to the channel very quick. Okay? Bye bye. Take care. Don't forget to subscribe. Share the video with your friends. Leave any questions or feedback in the comments.